I should have never opened that wall. I know, it sounds like the beginning of one of those stupid stories you hear online, but I swear, everything I'm about to tell you really happened. I bought the house about 3 months ago. It was isolated, out of town, the kind of place you only find by accident, or because someone wants to get rid of it fast. Ridiculously low price, no neighbors for hundreds of meters, and a clause in the contract that made me laugh at the time. The buyer accepts the property in its current condition, without requesting information about its previous history. Back then, it felt like a formality. Now, I wish I had asked more questions. The first few days were normal, too normal. I cleaned, fixed things, threw away old furniture. The house felt empty, not just of people, empty of everything, like no one had ever really lived there. Then I started hearing the knocking, always at night, always at the same time, 3:12 a.m. At first, I thought it was the pipes or the wood settling, you know, the usual logical explanations, but there was something too precise, too regular. 3 knocks. Pause. 3 more. After a week, I figured out where they were coming from. The upstairs room, the only one I hadn't touched. I can't explain why I hadn't gone in yet. There wasn't a real reason. Every time I tried to open that door, I stopped, like something inside me was saying, "Don't!" Of course, eventually, I did. The room was colder than the rest of the house. There was no furniture, except for an old wardrobe against the wall. And there was a smell, damp, stale, almost metallic. That night, the knocking was louder, and it was coming from inside the wall, not the room, the wall. That's when I decided to open it. The panel was rotten. It gave way easily, like something had already weakened it from the inside. And behind it, there was a space, narrow, dark, and something wrapped in a dark cloth. The diary. No title, no name, just a date, written by hand. October 14, 1987. The first page said, "If you're reading this, then you've heard the knocking too." I smiled, not because it was funny, but because I wanted to believe it was. I kept reading. The first pages were normal. A man, probably the previous owner. He wrote about the house, the repairs, the isolation. Then, after a few pages, everything changed. "It always starts with 3 knocks. Do not answer. Never count along with them." That night, I started counting. I didn't mean to. It just happened. Knock 1, knock 2, knock. I stopped before the third. I don't know why, but I had this feeling that if I finished counting, something would happen. The next day, I kept reading the diary. The handwriting became more chaotic. "It doesn't come from outside. It's already inside. The wall is not a boundary." Then I found a torn page, and right after, a list. Names, dozens of them. Maybe people who had lived there, or people who had found the diary. I read every name, one by one, and when I got to the last one, it was mine. Written in the same handwriting as the rest, but the ink looked fresh. I didn't sleep that night. The knocking started earlier, 2:47 a.m., faster, more aggressive. And this time, it wasn't just the wall. It came from everywhere. The door, the floor, the ceiling. And then it stopped. I thought it was over. I was wrong. I heard something breathing behind me. I didn't turn around, not right away. I grabbed the diary. My hands were shaking. And I opened it to the last page. There was a new sentence. It wasn't there before, I swear. "Now it knows you can hear it." And then, knock, knock, knock. But this time, they weren't outside. They weren't in the room. They weren't in the house. They were inside me. I tried to ignore it, to breathe, to calm down, but every beat felt like a response. One, two. I can't stop before the third anymore. If you're listening to this and you hear knocking, don't count. Never. To three. If you're hearing this, it means I didn't finish the diary. Or maybe I did. I'm not sure anymore. My name doesn't matter. You'll understand why soon. What matters is the journal. I found it 6 days ago, and I think it was meant for me. It started normally. I was visiting my grandfather's old apartment. He passed away a month ago. No one had gone through his things yet, so I volunteered. I regret that now. The place felt untouched, not abandoned, just paused, like time had stopped in the middle of a thought. Everything was covered in a thin layer of dust, except for one thing, a notebook on the kitchen table, clean, like it had been placed there recently. I thought maybe my grandfather had been writing before he died, but when I opened it, the handwriting wasn't his. The first entry was dated 3 days before his death. I finally found where it resets. That was it. No explanation, just that sentence. The next page, it doesn't follow the way we do. And then, the diary stays, everything else changes. At first, I thought it was some kind of puzzle. My grandfather loved strange riddles. But then, I reached the last written page. The date was tomorrow. And the entry said, "You will read this and think you still have time." I closed the notebook immediately. I didn't want to play along with whatever this was, but that night, I couldn't stop thinking about it. So I went back, and the diary had changed. There were more entries, new ones, written in the same handwriting, but I hadn't seen them before, I'm sure of it. One of them said, "He always comes back to read more." Another, "Curiosity is the first loop." That word stuck with me. Loop. The next entry mentioned something specific, something impossible. "He will drop the glass at 9:14 p.m. I checked the time, 9:13. I didn't even realize I was holding a glass until it slipped from my hand. That's when I understood. The diary wasn't recording events, it was predicting them, or maybe causing them. I tried to leave the apartment. I grabbed my keys, walked to the door, and found another entry, one that hadn't been there seconds before. "He will try to leave now." I froze. Slowly, I turned back and kept reading. "He thinks stopping will break the loop. He doesn't understand yet." I decided to test it. I closed the diary, put it face down, and sat in silence. No reading, no reacting, nothing. Minutes passed. Then I heard it, pages turning on their own. I didn't touch it, I swear, but when I looked, it was open again to a new entry. "He always looks." I tried something else. I skipped pages, went ahead, far ahead. The dates didn't make sense anymore. They weren't in order. Some were in the past, some were in the future, some had no date at all. And then I found it, an entry that mentioned this exact moment. "He is reading this entry right now." I dropped the diary, but I already knew what the next line would say. "He will drop the diary." I picked it up again. I had to know how it ended. The last pages were different, messier, desperate, like whoever wrote them was losing control. "I tried to stop writing. It kept going. It writes even when I don't." And then, the final entry. No date, just a sentence. "This is where you understand." At first, I didn't get it. I looked around. The apartment, the table, the dust, nothing had changed except the handwriting. It wasn't the same anymore. It wasn't my grandfather's. It wasn't the original author's. It was mine. Every new entry, every prediction, every word. I don't remember writing them, but I recognize them. I checked the first page again, the very first entry. It had changed too. I finally found where it resets. And underneath it, a new line. It starts when you begin reading. I think I understand now. The diary doesn't belong to someone. It becomes someone. And when you read it, you continue it. I don't know how many times this has happened. I don't know how many people have read this before me. But I know one thing. You're reading it now.